it resound loud as the rolling sea.
Sing a song
Full of the faith that the dark past has taught us.
Sing a song
Full of the hope that the present has brought. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, freedom the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady breathing, our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed.
we have come
Over a way that the tears have been watered,
we have come
treading our path through the blood of the soul. Out from the gloomy
back
clean of our bright song rings down.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. Watch the stage.
Oh,
Let me get closer. Is that loud enough? Who turned it off? Okay, we're going to retake that. From the top, good afternoon, and you already said hello. I just want to welcome you to the Washington State 2024 Black History Month celebration. My name is Andre Simpson. Louder still. How about that? Okay. You gotta make it challenging for me to read my script. Okay. So, my name is Andre Simpson, and I'd just like to welcome you here today. I'm the lead for the History and Activities Subcommittee for BUILD, Blacks United in Leadership and Diversity. I'm sorry. We'd like to thank all of you for joining us here today. I'm probably gonna go off script because reading on script is not good for me. So I'd like to thank you all for joining us here today in this beautiful venue, Northwest African American Museum, as we gather together today to celebrate African Americans and the arts. BUILD is a business resource group for Black Washington State employees and our allies. Our mission is to improve the experience of Black state employees, increase representation in leadership positions, give voice to the Black perspective, and build each other up as we move forward. Before we get things started, I'd like to thank the caterers for the appetizers this afternoon. Tamu Foods out of Federal Mountain. They supplied the tropical samosas and Bolade's fish and chips out of Lacey, Washington. for the Hush Puppies and the food trays. Jermaine Harris of Bow Lakes Fish and Chips, the owner of Bow Lakes Fish and Chips, will be also catering our meal this afternoon. Meal tickets you received at the registration table will be in your packet. That would allow you to enjoy the culinary delights he has provided for us today.
And dessert.
And desserts. And you know, I'd be remiss if I just didn't say, look around the room, look at the beautiful decorations. Yeah, they are all the brainchild of this lovely lady. So, yeah.
We also have a free 360 photo booth courtesy of one of our longtime Bill members. Thank you, Ms. Charlene. So be sure to step across the hall to the cafe and take a photo to commemorate your time here with us celebrating Black History Month. Also, the closest restroom is just out the hall to the left. Well, I would like to say good afternoon to all of you here. Also to all of the state employees watching live on Facebook, we welcome you. Can you hear me? No. Can you hear me now? Yes. Good. My name is Rochelle Nelson, and as the co-lead of the History and Activities Committee, I too extend my appreciation for you being here today. As a state employee resource group, Build Achieves our goals by uncovering, sharing, and celebrating the stories, achievement, valor, strength, and genius of the African diaspora from the motherland to the homeland. That's right. Today's event is a joyous occasion as we share it here in this beautiful space to celebrate the creativity, the originality, the brilliance, and the boldness of African Americans in the arts. We began our program with the captivated smooth jazz of Maurice Edwin. And then Bill Dinago Fire led us in verse 1 and 2 of the Every Voice and Theme, our Black National Anthem. Bill Fire's first performance. You guys did amazing. I hope it's not their last. This has been a great start to celebrating the arts at today's event. Now I'd like to welcome to the podium Bill's chair, Sharina James, and co-chair Brian Lindstrom to introduce the co-MC for our program. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you, Rochelle and Andre. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Sharina James, and I serve as the current chair of Blacks United in Leadership and Diversity. Before I introduce today's MCs, I would first like to acknowledge some special state service guests joining us today. Please hold your applause till the end. Marcus Glasper, Director of the Washington State Department of Licensing and the executive sponsor of BUILD. Megan Matthews, Director of the Washington State Office of Equity and BUILD's inaugural chair. Terry Redmond, DSHS Assistant Secretary of Economic Services Administration. Dante Payne, Mayor of Olympia and Senior Policy Advisor for Civil Rights and Racial Justice in the Washington State Office of the Governor. Attorney Jesse Weinberry, former Washington State Representative, 1985 to 1995. Babs Roberts, Director of the Community Services Division of DSHS. Ollie Garrett, Liquor and Cannabis Board Member and President of Tabor 100. Dr. Dexter Gordon, Executive Vice President of Evergreen State College. And Dr. Keith Stafford, Assistant Director, Evergreen State College, Tacoma. Brian?
Thank you, Sharina. I am Brian Lindstrom, your co-chair of BUILD. I also have a few special guests to acknowledge as well, so please, once again, hold your applause until the end. Marita Dingus, local, national, and international mixed media sculptor. Valerie Curtis Newton, head of performance, acting, and directing at the University of Washington School of Drama and art director of the Hansberry Project. Rosalind Bell, local writer and playwright. Shantae Sumter, King 5 news anchor and former MC of Billy. Lyle Kasim, former secretary of DSHS and former Build keynote speaker. Reverend Dr. Leslie Braxton, senior pastor of New Beginnings Christian Fellowship and former Build keynote speaker. Bishop Dr. Lawrence White, senior pastor of the Church of Living God in Tacoma and former Build speaker. And lastly, John Leach, the co-creator of the Black Lives Matter calendar. Please join me in giving all of our distinguished guests a round of applause. Now, we would like to show you a video from our governor, Governor Jay Inslee.
Well, it looks like we're having a little
Greetings
technical
and happy
difficulties.
Black History Month.
At this point, I think
While I can't be with you today, I join you in
This keynote.
celebrating our history.
a little later.
I say that because Black history is American history, and it's Washington history. We all know about Jimi Hendrix, born in Seattle. Ray Charles and Quincy Jones and Ernestine Anderson got their starts here too. Centralia, because of George Washington, started that city. Black history is Washington history. There's a theme to Black history, and that's overcoming barriers and biases.
Well, let's
have
move
always
on to
been
our
in the way, and
MCs.
to
We
a
have an
degree they
exciting
still are,
program.
unfortunately. But as your
Elle
governor,
Denise
I've
is the
given it
workforce
my
recruitment
all to
strategic advisor
attempt
for
to
the
destroy racism and
Office
advance
of the
equity,
Director within
to give every
DSHS's
Washingtonian
Community
a chance to
Services.
write new history. That starts with the state and how we embrace Black employees. I'm extremely
video's
proud of
playing
the work of
virtually.
BUILD
So
and our
we want
business
people
resource
online
groups.
also to catch this.
BIPOC communities often face tall barriers, but institutions often just don't see them. That's changing, and it's changing because we're organizing groups like this and listening to what you have to say. You know, my favorite Dr. King quote is, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." So let's continue bending that arc with courage, building a future towards an equitable Washington for all. Happy Black History Month. Let's write the next chapter together. Good luck.
Okay.
Take two. So our MC, Elle Denise Randall, is a workforce recruitment strategic advisor for the Office of the Director within DSHS's Community Services Division. She's a newer state employee and comes to DSHS with more than 15 years of exceptional nonprofit and educational leadership experience. She earned a bachelor's degree in English language arts from Whitworth University and a master's in education with a teaching certification from Pacific Lutheran University. Throughout her career, Denise has served as a champion for educational equity and living wage employment. Denise invests in underserved communities by empowering youth and young adults with leadership, employment, and public speaking skill sets to enhance their present and future opportunities. She's a longstanding trustee of her alma mater, Whitworth University. Ryan?
Truth out loud. Serving Washington with the Community Services Division of DSHS as a Public Benefits Specialist 3. Truth is a lifetime resident of Seattle, Washington, and a graduate of Garfield High School, which is in the community in which he lives. He holds a certification in early childhood education, and a bachelor's and master's degree in education. He is the current Vice President of the Central District Community Preservation and Development Authority, which owns and oversees the newly opened McKinney Center in the old Seattle Vocational Institute building. Also, he is a board member for this African American Museum and Cultural Center of Seattle. Truth is a veteran of the United States Navy and a member of the Prince Hall Masonic family. Truth's overall biggest accomplishment is his 5 children and 5 grandchildren. Community institution building at the same time, intersecting family with his passion for cultural competency and education as he strives to build a legacy for his family and his community. In addition, he is advancing economic development with the African American community with an emphasis on awareness with action culturally, ethically, and politically. Please join me in welcoming Eldenice and Truth Allah to close the line.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharina Bryan. Appreciate that. We both do. I'm also excited to welcome a good friend of mine and big sister to the build stage today, Dr. Marcia Tate Arunga, as she leads us through the sacred practice of acknowledging the land in which we stand and occupy. Dr. Marcia Arunga is the academic dean of Evergreen State College, Tacoma. She holds a PhD in leadership and organizational change from Antioch University, a master's in human development with an emphasis on adult education and human services from Pacific Oaks College, and a Bachelor of Arts in sociology from the University of Washington. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Marcia Arunga, the dean of the only HBCU in the area, Evergreen State College.
Yes, good afternoon, Bill. Thank you. Thank you so much. What an honor to be here today to perform this sacred ritual, as Truth has called it, and indeed it is. We pour libation really to honor our ancestors and to acknowledge that they were here before we came. They've been doing this work long before we were even born, and the work must continue until we have a beautiful, just society. I want to acknowledge first and foremost that we are on Native soil. That is their ancestors of the Native Americans. I speak mainly of the Duwamish, but also the Puyallup, where Evergreen State College is on, and the many tribes of the Great Salish Sea. And it is their ancestors whose land this is. We are visitors here. So as I pour this libation, I'm pouring it on behalf of Black History Month and all of the wonderful strides that we have made in the many years that we have been in this country, and as it was said before we came to this country. So in order for me to pour this libation, I'm going to need your assistance. I will take this water that I'm assuming has been blessed and wished well wishes on. Thank you. Amen. Ashe. And as I pour it, I'll say a few words. I'd really like you to join in and say Ashe with me. So can we do that? Ashe. Ashe. Yes, thank you. Okay, energy's going up. I like that. And we say Ashe in the tradition of the Yoruba people from West Africa. And Ashe is basically that I'm speaking truth. And I would like to ask the elders if I might continue this exercise as I speak truth this afternoon on behalf of Black people in America.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And so I'll begin at the beginning of time. That is the time of this world. We know that still the oldest fossil human remain that exists is that of Dinkinesh. Dinkinesh, a 4-foot tall Ethiopian woman who the Europeans call Lucy, and was still the oldest fossil human remains left that we can tell is the oldest, 3.2 million years old to humanity. So we want to thank her right now. Ashe. Ashe. And you know, in Africa, there were many inventions that were established and created so that we might be able to have civilizations. Civilizations actually began in Africa with the use of fire, but also with mathematics, engineering, architecture, agriculture, astronomy, geometry, all of those things, including navigation, were already in the making in the African civilization. It is truly not just the mother of civilization or the cradle of civilization, it is the mother of civilization. And we just want to honor those ancestors who had that foresight to bring forth such inventions, such as those that I've named. Ashe. And, you know, it's said that we were minding our business and tending to our fields and raising the very young when we were stolen from our homes in Africa. We know now that over 13 million people had left the continent. And we also know there were Africans who traveled before we became enslaved in this country. There were many episodes of navigation that occurred with the trade winds bringing people into the Americas and interacting with people in the Americas and becoming a part of the people of the Americas long before we called them the Americas. Dr. John Henrik Clarke calls that era what we call today the Ma'afa, a time in which if the Atlantic Ocean was to dry up today, it would reveal a trail of bones that would stretch from Africa all the way to the Americas. And those would be the bones of our ancestors that didn't make the voyage. And yet there are those who survived the voyage and traveled to the other side and were able to sustain for a long time. You know, we met a woman in Kenya who recognized 7 Black women as the stolen ones. And she said that we looked like the stolen ones she had never understood before. She was told as a young child to remember all of her ancestors and then always remember the stolen ones. And in her village, it was a young girl who went to the market in another village nearby and just never came back home. And what that elder wanted me to tell you today was that they looked for her. They cherished that child. She was full of talents and skills. She was a farmer. They didn't bring over people who were just waiting in chains to come to America. They had skill sets that were needed in America to build this country. And so she looked at us and said, so you are the stolen ones returning home. Welcome home. And with that, we learned the connection between us. It might be 2 years, it might be 20 years, it might be 200 years since we have been on the continent of the motherland, but it is still our motherland. And so for those of us who survived, our ancestors who survived that horrific voyage, not over weeks, but over months of time in the bottom of horrible ships, we want to really thank those ancestors and that they came here and kept their spirits gentle and quiet so that they might live long enough for the next generation, and each generation reminding each other that it is important that we live, that we give all we have to give wherever we are, in the tradition of excellence of Black people. And so for that, I thank those ancestors who did not survive and those who survived on the other side. Ashe. Ashe. And I want to also bring to mind the 10,000 lynchings that were recorded by Ida B. Wells of the NAACP. She made it a point to document every single lynching that had occurred in those years. 10,000 lynchings between 1888 and 1935. We want to really pay homage to all of those people who lived, struggled, and died during that time. And we think of those people who were heroes. No one could have done it alone. Without Rosa Parks, there would not have been a Martin Luther King. Without Sojourner Truth, there wouldn't have been a Frederick Douglass. Without Nat Turner, there wouldn't have been a Harriet Tubman. So we are inextricably linked to each other. And we want to honor that today. Ashe. And then there is the fallen ones, both close and far away. We want to pay homage to them today. We want to remember George Floyd, Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin. We want to remember Sandra Bland, Breonna Taylor. We want to think about Tamir Rice. We pause for George Floyd. We pause for Emmanuel Ellis.
Yes.
And we pause for Charlena Lyles, all whose lives were taken too soon by the state and other untimely means. We want to honor them today. Ashe.
Ashe.
And for those who died in COVID times, we know that Black people in this country, are the majority number of people who died of that horrible disease. And we are still dying, so we must be careful to take care of ourselves, for who else would do it but ourselves? And we must preserve those numbers and teach our children to be safe and to also live healthy lives. And with that, I'd like to use these words that were given by Dr. Bernice Johnson Reagan when she said, "To the spirit of those named and unnamed who stood and struggled before us and beside us, we offer this libation. Ashe,
Ashe.
Ashe,
Ashe.
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 And so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Marsha Taylor Runger, for that powerful land acknowledgement and libation. We always appreciate your presence and support of Build events, so thank you for being here today. Our theme for today is African Americans and the Arts. For our next presentation, I am thrilled to introduce you to a group of state employees who will be leading us through a reenactment of an interview with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The art of acting we will experience in this presentation, coupled with the powerful expression of Dr. King's speeches, is captivating as both evoke emotions, inspire thought, and aim to bring about societal change through their messages. As a people, we are multifaceted, possessing a variety of gifts, talents, and skill sets. As state employees, participation in resource groups such as Build allows the opportunity to showcase our diverse and creative abilities within the arts and beyond. Today's presentation will showcase the talents of a few of our colleagues. As we engage in this presentation, in addition to the visual elements that you can easily connect with, we ask that you lean in to identify the places where Dr. King Jr.'s speech masterfully utilized eloquence, rhetoric, and profound words to convey his vision for equality and justice. Under the direction of Charlene Anderson, we present in their acting debut, Devon Brim as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Dennis Worrell as reporter Sander Vancour, and Donald Paul as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s understudy. Charlene, the floor is yours.
This is an excerpt of an interview which took place on May 8th, 1967 at Atlanta Ebenezer Baptist Church, 11 months before the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This interview was also aired as a special report entitled After the Civil War, Black Power. Here, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. speaks to NBC News reporter Vander Sanaker about the new phase of the struggle for genuine equality.
Dr. King, what is it about the Negro? Every other immigrant group that came here, somehow, not easily, but somehow got around it. Is it just the fact that Negroes are Black?
That's a part of it, and growing, that grows out of something else. See, you can't thingify anything without depersonalizing that something. And if you use that something as a means to an end, at that moment, you make it a thing and then you depersonalize it. And the fact is that the Negro was a slave in his country for 244 years. And that act was a willful thing that was done. See, the Negro was brought here in chains, treated in very inhumane fashion. And this is what led to the thingification of the Negro. So he was not looked upon as a person. He was not looked upon as a human being with the same status and worth as other human beings. And another thing is that human beings cannot continue to do wrong without eventually rationalizing that wrong. So slavery was justified morally, biologically, theoretically, scientifically, and everything else. So, and there's another thing is that the color became a stigma through American society. The Negro's color became a stigma that can never be overlooked. And absolutely believe these things are necessary. And the other thing is that America freed the slaves in 1863 through the Emancipation Proclamation of Abraham Lincoln, but gave the slaves no land or nothing, as in reality, as a matter of fact, to get started on. But at the same time, America was giving away millions of acres of land to the West and Midwest, which meant there was a willingness to give the white peasants from Europe an economic base, but yet it refuses Black peasants from Africa that came in voluntarily in chains and had to work for free for 244 years without any economic base whatsoever. So so the emancipation for the Negro was basically freedom to hunger. It was freedom to the winds and rains of heaven. It was freedom without food to eat, a land to cultivate. So therefore, it was freedom and famine at the same time. And when white America tells the Negro that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps, they do not look over the legacy of segregation and slavery. And now I believe that we ought to do all that we can, that we seek, that we lift our own selves by our own bootstraps. But it is a cruel jest to tell a bootless man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And many Negroes, by the thousands and millions, have been left bootless due to the years of oppression in a society that has deliberately made his color a stigma that is worthless and degrading.
Apart from wanting to live better, which all of us want to do to raise one's children in a better way, does the Negro in America know what he wants to be?
I'm convinced that almost every Negro in this country, other than those who have been so scarred by the system that they have become pathological in the process, we all have to battle with pathology, and nobody really knows what it means to be a Negro unless one can truly experience it.
And we all have to battle with this constant drain of this feeling of nobodiness. But in spite of this, I believe that the vast majority of Negroes in this country knows that they want to be people, they want to be men, they want equality, period. It just really boils down to that. And we haven't been able to be people, and we haven't been men. And that is because of the conditions that we are faced with, and the syndrome of deprivation and the surrounding conditions, whether it's in the economic area or the housing, in the schools, the vicious credit practices that we're faced with, and along with everything else in the ghetto. And along with that is the constant defeats and closed doors that we have to endure. But I believe in spite of all of this, that we want to be men, and we want to be persons judged not on the basis of the color of our skin, but on the basis of the content of our character.
But you know that many young Negroes don't want anything that smacks of the white American middle class, but do they want something that smacks of whatever it is, the black middle class? Or do they just not want bourgeois values, which after all are the basis of this democracy?
Well, I think what we have to do is see what they're saying. And I would be the first person to say that integration does not mean giving up everything that has an Afro-American taint, so to speak, background that is. And I think there are certain unique things within any culture and culture patterns that when you get to the process of amalgamation, it can relive the whole culture. And the other thing, and I believe that integration at its best is the opportunity to participate in the beauty of diversity. And the other thing that I think what we've got to see is that these young people are saying that there must be a revolution of values within our country. And as Jimmy Baldwin once said on one occasion, what advantages are there in being integrated to a burning house? And I feel that there is a need for a revolution of values in America, because some of the values that are that existing right now are certainly out of line with the values in the idealistic structure that has brought our nation into being. And unfortunately, we haven't been true to these ideals, and many of the so-called white middle class type society values really needs to be reevaluated and reviewed, and it needs to be, in a real sense, changed. So I think the young people in the Negro community that are raising these questions are raising some very profound questions about our total society. In other words, that they are saying that there must be a restructuring of the architecture of values in America when it comes to values in America. And with that, I would agree. So in the quest for integration, I think we can offer a whole nation something, because there are three evils in our nation. It's just not racism. One is militarism, and exploitation of poverty is another. And these three are tied inextricably together, and we aren't going to get rid of one without getting rid of the other. Thank you. Thank you, Charlene and company. We appreciate that. Also, I
I'd like to make a quick announcement. If there are any women in the room standing and there are men sitting, please get up. And there's also seats up front if you'd like to come up here, just to have a little, just to maintain a little bit of order and respect. They gotta see it to be it. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Can we give them another round of applause? Great job. And I'm thrilled at this time to introduce you all to our guest speaker for today's event, Karen Williams McKee.
Wilkins.
Wilkins, did I mess up? No, I'm gonna say it right. Karen Wilkins McKee. Isn't it? Talking about this.
I think you know.
She's gonna correct me. I have no problem. All right. Karen is a Seattle Seahawks Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Prior to joining the Seahawks, Karen worked for several Pacific Northwest companies, including Alaska Air Group, Microsoft, and Expedia in senior global diversity and inclusion strategy roles. Okay, Karen earned a bachelor's degree in communication from Cal State Chico and is an alumnus of the McKinsey Black Executive Leadership Program, where she represented a cohort of Black leaders at Alaska Air Group with peers across various industries around the world. Karen serves on several external diversity, equity, and inclusion committees, helping to drive this work across a variety of industries across the United States. Karen is committed to helping people and organizations reach their full potential. Karen was born and raised in New York City and moved to Bothell in 2007, with her husband and 2 children. Kyra. I did that, that pause was strategic. Kira, and who is a senior at Arizona State University, and Caden. All right. And Caden is a freshman in Bellevue College. Her family is her pride and joy, and she works hard to make them proud and to show them that all things are possible through hard work, integrity, and passion. Please join me in welcoming Karen Wilkins McKee.
That was really entertaining, right? I was just sitting there, I was just gonna say something. Hello, Bill. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. I have to mention my husband Corey, because he always tells me in everything that I do, he's like, you never mention me, you always mention me. I'm like, that's true, I do, I'm sorry. So Corey is my husband, and today is his birthday. So I'm sorry I was here late and I have to leave after this, but I have to celebrate him. But anyway, today I'm celebrating you. So as Drew said, Karen Wilkins McKee, I've had several roles in diversity, equity, and inclusion. I've been doing this for about 20 years now. I can't believe that there's a job that I literally fell into. Nowadays, you can do a degree in this, you can do social justice background. I didn't. I was a communications major. I went to a predominantly white institution at Chico. I know, I was in the Bronx and I ended up in Chico. That's a whole nother story. But you know, it's interesting. I didn't think about this until I was presenting to some young emerging leaders. Never thought about this, but they asked me, like, why did you get into diversity, equity, and inclusion? And I thought about it and I was like, was there a trauma or something? Did something happen to you? Because we all have lived experiences. We all know that there's trauma and something happens to us. But to be honest with you, growing up in New York City, you know, it was, you know, a mosaic of cultures. I didn't experience challenges there. I was with everybody and people treated me well and I belonged. But then I went to Chico State, and I know it's very strange that I went to Chico State, but I did. And I own it proudly because it's part of my story, it's part of my journey. But when I got there, I was treated very differently. I was othered, I was called names, I was teased because of my accent, and as you can tell, you don't hear it now, unless there's any New Yorkers in the room. Yeah. Younger? That's okay. It's not the Bronx, but we own our boroughs in New York, like we're big time, you know, BX. Brooklyn, no, yeah. So anyway, my New York accent was really strong, and you hear it right after I speak to my mom or my brother or friends, but you don't really hear it anymore. You know why? Because I changed it. I changed it because it was the one thing that I could change to fit into a society that did not welcome me, did not see me, and I'm ashamed of that. Like now, when I talk to youth, I talk to people coming in that I'm mentoring, I'm like, do not change who you are. I changed it because everybody, Karen, say this word, do this. I was like the muse of wherever I worked. I couldn't get a job, I had to support myself, go to school. So I worked full-time, went to school full-time, but it was hard. But I never thought that that was part of my journey leading me into this work. Like I didn't leave school and say, I'm going to do diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's not what I did. I left school and I said, you know what? These are the things that are important to me. Working with people. I have to be able to talk. I love to talk. That's why Gary asked me to talk, because he knows I like to talk. I love it. It's so fun. I love to connect people. I love helping people. And so I went into recruiting. Like, who knew, you know, that recruiting would even lead to doing this work, right? But you know what I did before it was a thing? As a recruiter, I moved to Los Angeles and I was helping put people into jobs. And I was looking at these companies and I was like, this is weird. Like, I don't see myself represented in these companies. That's a problem. So I started to find people in the community or from the community to fill those jobs. And so people started to recognize, like, she's really good at this. You want to be on council? Because back then we had diversity committees and councils back then that formed to talk about this. But it was still really new, like there wasn't a job. So as I moved on I stayed in recruiting and I went into the financial industry. And I had this great opportunity to work with Magic Johnson. And I loved working with Magic because what he wanted to do was provide housing in urban communities that was affordable. But he said, he challenged us. He said, I need you to find people from that community to work in these home loan centers to get loans to people in the community. And I was like, oh yeah. And he's like, no, and I don't want people from Beverly Hills, you know, in South Central at the home loan center. I want you to go into South Central LA and I want you to put people from those communities in these home loan centers. And I was like, all right, I'm the person for the job. So I did. And I loved it. Because why? I was able to help people. I was able to connect with people. And I was able to work with Magic, which was pretty dope. So I did that for a while. And then people started to notice, like I said, they noticed my talent before I knew my own talent. And you want to know something? It wasn't anybody that looked like me that noticed it. No one along the way. Every role I had has not been because someone looked like me that did it for me, right? Or helped me with it. Right. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. And there's gonna be like these little nuggets I just want you to think about. But I will tell you that it was someone in my group that was like, Karen, how do you recruit talent, diverse talent? Because how many of you heard this? There's just nobody out there. I tried to work with HBCUs, but no one wants to come to the Pacific Northwest. How many times have you been told that? We try to diversify, but we can't find anybody to do the job. Well, I used to call BS on that, and I don't know if it reported, Gary, I don't want to curse, so. I want to be invited back too, so, anyway, I won't curse. So I was like, yeah, it's probably the way you're doing it. What happens is recruiters do a thing that I call post and pray.
Come on now.
What it means is you post a job, you pray somebody applies, and you hire. You put very little effort into it, but you just put somebody in a job. I wasn't that recruiter. I was like, no, we're gonna be intentional.
Let's go.
We're gonna be intentional. I'm gonna find the right people for the job. And we are going to diversify our workforce. And again, this is before there was a thing. It was not a thing. There was no job for this, right? So finally, they were like, gosh, you're so good at this. Like, can you help us train recruiters on building a strategy on how to hire diverse talent? I was like, all right. Second nugget, never turn stuff down. Even though I never did it officially at that time, they offered me an opportunity to do something that had never been done before. And I was like, well, yeah, I'll do it. I also noticed at that time that, wow, I have created every opportunity that I've had. Again, another thing I didn't learn until I was talking to this young group of leaders. Wow, I didn't think about this. I'm telling them my journey as I'm telling you, and all of these things are coming to me at that moment. And it was this light bulb moment that these roles did not exist. And so what I say that to you because anything's possible. If you want to do it, do it. Nothing has to get in your way. And so I continue to do this work. I continue to do it well. And I got this call, and I was living in California, and I got a call, and they said, Microsoft, they said, we started this little thing, gaming thing called Xbox. And I was like, okay. And they said, and we don't know what we're doing from a diversity perspective. They were making the controller for the Xbox. It was too big in Asia. I was like, well, duh, like it was huge, it was massive. And they were like, we didn't think about that. I'm like, yeah. And we're making games, 18 to 20-year-old white boys right out of high school, software developers, we're making games. And they were like, and we realized like, that's not the only people playing games. I'm like, yeah, really? Yeah. I was like, I don't play games, I don't know games. And at the time I was like, what's an Xbox? Because I knew, right? But you know what? They called me to help them with their strategy in gaming. Now I could have said, I don't know anything about gaming. I don't know nothing about an Xbox. I don't think I should do this. I could have said that. I didn't. I said, all right, there's another piece to it. I was 9 months pregnant with Kaden. Not Kira, Kaden. And there was everything telling me don't do it. I was gonna go on leave, take 6 months off and just chill with my new child, my second. And I said, well, I'm not gonna move. And they said, that's okay. I was like, but I'm pregnant. And they're like, that's okay. Microsoft was doing this before other people were doing the remote thing, and the Microsoft, they were way ahead of the game. My son was born in 2005. Wow. 2005. So I did it. I was like, yeah, let's go. Gaming it is. And if you Google me in gaming, I am a gaming guru. Gaming guru. I was like, whatever, like, let's go. Let's do it. I helped start up Blacks in Gaming. I talked over in Europe around women in gaming. Remember, I knew nothing about gaming, but it wasn't about that. It was about the practice. I started to realize at that moment, it doesn't matter the industry, it's about the practice. And so I took that and I continued that philosophy as I continued to grow my career. So from Microsoft, I was there for a very long time. And I tell everybody that is where I grew up in diversity, equity, and inclusion. The title changed through my career there. Through my tenure, I went from diversity to diversity and inclusion. I became a manager there. I became global there. That was something, I always will thank them for that and give credit. Because I believe all that I went through there got me to where I am here. It didn't exist, the little Xbox job, being a program, recruiting man, whatever the job was at the time. You can see it on LinkedIn. But anyway, here I go, I'm like continuing to do stuff. Now I'm global and now I have a manager title. And then I shifted into a diversity, I think at Expedia it was diversity. I think it still was a diversity and inclusion manager, senior manager. And then I went to Alaska and that's when I got my director title and the E was added. So I was listening to the Martin Luther King skit and it was interesting. Couldn't that speech be told now?
Yes.
Right now, we could just repeat that whole speech.
Yeah.
Except not only equality are we seeking, it's equity.
Yeah.
I'm here, so I feel all things equal, that's fine, but it's the equity. That's the part I push. So I'm happy that's part of the title. But it's more than that, and we have to focus on every piece of what that acronym stands for. I encourage you to stop saying DEI. I encourage you to spell it out. So when someone says, let's get rid of it, I want you to say, really? Let's get rid of diversity. Let's get rid of equity. Let's get rid of inclusion. How's that sound? Horrible. Because equity and inclusion involve everybody.
Yeah.
Right? So let's get rid of diversity, which is also everybody. Representation matters.
Right.
So I could talk to you for 5 hours. And I didn't know what I was gonna talk about today. I actually really didn't, and Gary knows I kind of go with it, and Tammy, I go with it, but I go with my heart. But what I'm gonna talk to you about is the importance of community. I'm so proud of you all for coming together in community and allies alike. We need allies. Thank you for being here. This is really important. We have to look out for one another. We have to support one another. We have to uplift one another. It's not good enough to just come together. You have to come together with intention and purpose and continue to ask yourself why. Why do I do what I do? So I told you it was my husband's birthday. I'm also flying out too tonight. Like I have a lot going on. There's a lot happening. But guess what? I don't say no. And the reason I don't say no is because anytime I can share with someone, whether it's my journey, whether it's a couple of nuggets, I want to give back. I didn't get here alone.
Yeah.
Truly, I did not get here alone. I am the first person to hold this position for the NFL.
Hey.
I'm not saying it to brag at all. What I'm saying is, and I'm definitely not doing that, but I will say, I'm definitely not the last, and now there are 32 of me, different levels, but that is a really, really big responsibility. So when I got that call, I was scared to death because this was the biggest role that I was about to take. It with a platform that is bigger than any platform I have been on, reporting to the top of the organization. There was no one going to be between me and that person anymore. So I had to prove myself. It was scary, very, very scary, but I did not say no. I did not say no. It was the village of people that surround me, who uplift me, who tell me I'm good, who say, you know what you're doing, go and do it. Who say that they don't know this work, that's why they hired you. Those are the people that have given me what I need to stand here in front of you today. And this is the reason why I don't say no. Because people tell me all the time, you don't have time. How are you supposed to
I'm like, I'll make time. But you can't be can't be everywhere, but I'm gonna make time. Because I need people to understand it's more than just a title. It's about the action. I don't want just a title and you don't see me. And you don't see me in the community, or you don't see my work, or you don't see that I really care. You know, it's more than that to me. So I have to understand what my purpose is, and my purpose is to make sure that I shed light on the reason why this work is so important. The reason why it cannot stop. The reason why it doesn't just take a person with a title, it takes all of us. We are all foot soldiers in this work. It is not one person. If there's a person leading it, they can't lead it alone. I don't do it alone. Everything that you see on that football field, it is not Karen that's doing it alone. They call me K-Dub because there's a lot of Karen things. So they call me K-Dub. I just wanted to share that. Like, the jokes that come with it. So no one calls Marshawn, refuses me. He's like, I can't. I'm like, I know, it's hard. K-Dub, just K-Dub. But it's not just me, it's so many other people. And my goal at the Seahawks, I spoke very little about it, but my goal is to really bring people along wherever they are in this journey. Wherever they are, I meet them where they are. I don't force anybody to do anything. I'm just like, hey, this is what I'm doing. You wanna come along with me? Come along with me, but we're going, and if you wanna come, you should, because it's kind of like what we're doing. And everyone is just amazing. They're amazing. And I am so proud to be part of it. I want you to, next time you watch a game, I want you to look for those moments of diversity now. Look at the field. Look at the end zone. What does it say? It says end racism. It says it takes all of us. You may see someone singing the Star Spangled Banner, right? The national anthem. What do they look like? That's intentional. You saw Lift Every Voice sung this year. How did that happen? Pay attention, look for it. It's there. And that's because it needs to be. It needs to be. But I will conclude because I think I'm over my time. I don't even know. But nobody's telling me anything. But I'm going to tell you that I appreciate the invitation to come and speak to you today. Continue to stay together in community, help one another, mentor each other, mentor others, look to help people grow. It's not about develop. I don't say develop because I think we are developed. It's about opportunity and access.
Yeah.
It's not about development. Don't even throw it out. I need leadership. No, you don't. You need access and opportunity. Because then you're gonna show yourself, you're gonna show what you are capable of, and you're gonna knock their socks off. It has nothing to do with development. We are all growing. Everybody is growing. Everyone has something to learn. But just continue to come together with purpose and know your why and lean on your allies. And it's not necessarily the person that looks like you that is going to give you the next opportunity. So stay open and continue to create those relationships because you never know where it's going to take you. I got here and it was a lot of white men that helped me get there. You know what I'm saying? So don't forget. Don't leave anybody out because you think they don't understand. Well, they may not understand, but don't leave people out because it's too hard to create that connection. Right? Bring them along in the right way, thoughtfully, strategically, and know what your why is and know your purpose. So thank you so much. I'm gonna go.
All right, thank you, Miss Karen Wilkins-Mickey. Your words were very inspiring and we greatly appreciate your presence and support of Bill. Thank you for creating the space to be here with us today. We appreciate you. Before we proceed in our program for today, I actually do have a very important quick announcement, and I do want you all to take a minute and lean in. If your car is one of these license plates, we do need you to move it expeditiously. And so the first one is DV 16374, AYJ 7151, BSU 6554, BUZ 2472, CGC 3833, BWM 4443, and AOY 1037. If your car is one of those, if you can please move it. It is blocking residents in that area. Thank you all in advance. All right, we are not finished. We're gonna go ahead and proceed on with our program. We are going to transition to an interactive activity. Yay, okay, we got a few people who are excited about that. How many of you have ever played the game Kahoot before? Just by, give me a little wave. Okay, online, you played Kahoot before, give me a thumbs up, all right? Well, if you have, you know that we are going to have a great time. This activity is interactive, informational, and above all, it is fun. So I would now like to welcome to the stage Dr. Shamika Sutton, Chief Clinical Officer at Western State Hospital Gage Center, as she facilitates us through this African American and the Arts history-themed Kahoot activity.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me? Yes. So now it's time to play a game that we can all join in on, even those watching via Facebook. This is an interactive timed trivia game called Kahoot. There will be 20 questions with multiple choice. Don't get too afraid, I hear that. There's 4 options. There's true, false, and there's ordering type of questions, all of which pertain to our theme, African American in the Arts. And here's how we're going to play. So pull out your phone and scan the QR code provided with your camera function. Don't worry, no app download is required, so your pictures are safe. Just click the, oh, it's in the program as well. Thanks, Michelle. Just click the link that pops up when scanning the QR code. Enter your first and last name, please, and get ready to play. We'll give you guys some moments to do so.
Oh, she got it.
We're not listening very well. Please make sure you put your first and last name. Give you guys, let me say, 20 more seconds. 1 minute. Okay, 1 minute. If we cannot identify who you are, we can't give you goodies if you win.
Yeah, you gotta type in the right thing up there. I would change it to do that.
All right, I'm gonna count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, last people join in. One, okay, some instructions. Each question will have 20 to 30 seconds to answer, okay? Your score will be determined by correctness and speediness. That is, when you guess correctly, you get even greater points for how fast you answer compared to others. So be quick, just tap with the finger. The top 3 winners will receive a prize, which we will disclose after the game. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's play. Where did it go?
Thank you.
Right? Points with it. But I'm curious, a little bit.
Yeah.
I own mine. All right, here we go. I will read the questions. Be fast. Hal S. Barnett, the first Black person to get membership with the Musicians Union, Local 76, played what instrument? Press it on your phone. Y'all are gonna learn today. Y'all are gonna go home and think about this and get on YouTube. What is this? All right, let's see how it went. Sousaphone is correct. 11 of you guys probably just guessed. So let's see, Tanisha, when did you get that one? Let's see how this changes. Number 2, who was the first Black woman to win the Academy Award for Best Actress? I'm judging all y'all if you get it wrong. Right. Look at all the answers come up quick. Y'all are quick.
Yeah, it's just gonna have
Okay, 36 of y'all. The other 21, where y'all been? Where you been? Tanisha, you are. Good job, Tanisha. I know who you are. I'm going to start reading the answers for those online. Which Broadway musical was created by Lin-Manuel Miranda and features a predominantly Black cast? The Lion King, The Color Purple, Hamilton, or Dreamgirls? Look, I can't even get through the answers. People are already.
Okay, I really hope I got
If it says on there.
For 9 more seconds.
Kinda like.
Y'all got me on that one. Hamilton, let's see who took it though. Let's see who took it.
Top 5.
Tanisha, where you What is the name of the Black filmmaker who directed the critically acclaimed movie Moonlight? Spike Lee, Ryan Coogler, Barry Jenkins, or Ava DuVernay?
Red is Spike Lee.
The pictures may or may not give you hints. Let's see. There. Barry Jenkins was correct. Let's see who's taking the lead. Remember, you came up. I hope I got that right. 21 places up. Shantara Mason. Nice job. Ready? Which Black musician is known as the king of pop? This one I'm really familiar with. Every single one of you got. Michael Jackson. Prince.
Yellow is Prince. Green is Stevie. Which black musician is the red is Michael Jackson. Yellow is Prince. James Brown. Green is Stevie.
Did somebody really say James Brown? Let's see who took this one. We're making touch. 3 players, you're in an answer streak of 3. Way to go. Next one, please. True or false? Dr. Nettie Craig Ashbury was a prominent leader in Hilltop, and in 1915, she co-founded the Tacoma NAACP.
Dr. Nettie Craig.
That's a nice ring.
Maybe one of you guys got that one correct. Nice job. Oh, coming, you gotta step it up. Terry, climb to space. Nice job. Next one. Who were the original kings of comedy?
Original Kings of Comedy. Red is Bernie Mac, Dave Chappelle, Kevin Hart, and Cedric the Entertainer. Blue is Richard Pryor, Bernie Mac, Eddie Murphy, and D.L. Hughley. Yellow is Kevin Hart, Cedric the Entertainer, Richard Pryor, and Steve Harvey. And green is Bernie Mac, Cedric the Entertainer, D.L. Hughley, and Steve Harvey. Who were the original kings of comedy?
Thinking. Oh, 42 of you, nice job. You know your comedy.
Kevin Hart, Richard Pryor.
Let's see what the scores look like. Nikisha got up there. Nicole and Jelly Bean is making a comeback. Nice job, Jelly Bean. Mika is all the top one. So, go ahead. True or false? In 1980, the first Black person won a Pulitzer Prize. True is blue, false is red. Did I get to
In 1980.
Yeah. What do you think it would be?
Yeah, right.
In 1980, the first black person won the Pulitzer Prize.
Hey.
That's a good split. That one got you.
Try.
Right, Jelly Bean is climbing, but Ramika is holding that #1 spot. And tough round, 6 players lost their answer streak of 6. Puzzles. This one's going to take some time. Place the following Black art events in order from earliest to most recent. You will have to move those on whatever your device is. Yes, red. Parody of Grant Wood's iconic American Gothic replaced with Black female. Blue, launch of the Black arts movement. Yellow, first play is written by an African American. And green, the youngest poet recites her poem at a presidential inauguration. I'm gaining a friend. Hi, Facebook. Got 7 more seconds.
Just leaving it up there.
Okay, me too. I was like.
Let's see if I stumped you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Tay got it right. I encourage you all to look those things up. Jelly Bean, way to climb those ranks. Combo Brick and 7 others just dropped their answer streak of 4. Next. Back to 4 multiple choice. Which Black artist founded the Black Audio Film Collective? Red is Keith Piper, blue is John Okomfra, yellow is Lubena Humid, and green is Isaac Julian. John Okomfra was correct. Blue. That was a good split. All right, Nico's holding it. Number 11, Mayor James Chase was what city's first Black council member and mayor? Red Olympia, yellow Spokane, blue Vancouver, and green Seattle. 3 more seconds. Wish we had Jeopardy. Oh, that was a good one. Oh, Allison too just climbed it, and Marcus Mendez climbed 14 spots. Who is a Black artist known for her storytelling through quilting? Yinka Shonibare in red, Lynette Yodom Bouquet in blue, Lubena Himid in yellow, and Faith Ringgold in green. 6 more seconds. Oh, that was a good split. I got you guys. Good job, Rika and Nicholas and Alan. Next. Dawn is the highest climber.
You're holding out to the 3rd and 4th.
Who has won the most Grammys? Beyonce in red, blue Kanye West, Jay-Z in yellow, and green is Quincy Jones. Nice job, it was Beyonce. Anybody move? Nope, good job, Rebecca. She's holding it, y'all. Nicholas is right behind her. Which Black artist is famous for his bronze sculptures depicting African history? Isaac Julian in red, Kehinde Wiley in blue, Chris O'Feely in yellow, and Steve McQueen in green. 3 more seconds. Kehinde Wiley. Nice job, those who voted blue. Anybody? Jelly Climb. Nice job.
That's our best now.
We're almost there. What Tacoma neighborhood began to help middle-class Black families to thrive with affordable housing and Black businesses? Red is downtown, blue is Parkland, yellow is Hilltop, and green is East Side. Yes. Nice job. You know your team better. That change anything? No, Rita, you are killing it. But Tatira Sally climbed 6 spaces. In 1939, who sang to 75,000 at the Lincoln Memorial after being denied the opportunity to perform at Constitution Hall? Red is Mamie Smith, blue is Bessie Smith, yellow is Ella Fitzgerald, and green is Marion Anderson. 19 seconds, y'all. That one got you guys. Tasha going club. Babe is making a comeback. True or false? The first movie with a full African-American cast, The Homesteader, produced by Oscar Micheaux. Blue is true and red is false. Three more seconds. Ooh. Wait, check that. For those who think you're right, you gotta go and watch it now. Back to four. What was Seattle's first Black theater company, which found a permanent space in 1969, became nationally renowned? Black Artist West in red, Moore in blue, Neptune in yellow, and Paramount in green. Got about 15 more seconds.
Really?
Two more answer.
I've been to Omaha, but I've never seen this ladders. Yeah, actually, I could have it.
22. There's Black Arts West in red. Let's see if that changed our scoreboard. Oh, no, we're holding it. Nicholas is holding it down and Tasha goes in second, right behind him, followed by Ramika. Who was the first African-American prima ballerina? Misty Copeland at the American Ballet Theater in red, Bernice Harrison at the First Negro Classical Ballet in blue, Janet Collins at the Metropolitan Opera in yellow, and Michaela de Prince at the Dutch National Ballet. Nice. For those 12 of you. Last question, and let's see who takes it. Nicholas is holding it down, followed by Tashika and Ramika. Last question. What genre of music is best defined by Nat King Cole, Billie Holiday, Miles Davis, and Nina Simone? Red is swing, blue is blues, yellow is jazz, and green is R&B. 5 more seconds. I knew that one was gonna get a lot of eyes, but it was jazz. Nice job, folks. Let's see who took our top 3 spaces. Let's see, in third place is Tasha. In second place, I'm going to Ramika, and in first place is Now, I will announce your prizes. I'm gonna take a picture just in case that goes away. Miss Tashiko will be receiving a novel by Tom Feelings called Soul Looks Back and Wonder, a Black History t-shirt, a Black History Starbucks cup, and playing cards. Tashiko, can you give them up? Let's give her a round of applause.
I'd like to thank the Academy.
And in second place is Ramika. If you're online, please let us know. And if you're here, please come on up. You'll be receiving a photograph of Ebenezer Baptist Church, where Martin Luther King delivered his first sermon, photographed by Tacoma native photographer Marcus Stephens, and a Martin Luther King novel called Strength to Love. This is bigger than I am. Congratulations. And in first place, Nicholas, are you here or online? And 4 admission tickets to the Washington State Historical Society in Tacoma with teaching.
All right, well, that was fantastic. I don't know about you all, but I feel like I learned some things. I also feel like I need a happy meal and a hug after that. Wow, I got a little bit more reading to do. So thank you all for playing, greatly appreciate it. You all, we're almost through with our program. Hasn't it been phenomenal? It really has. You all have been a really great audience. We're almost nearing the end to the food that is here on site. If you know, you know. But I do want to, at this time, to introduce our next keynote speaker. James Miles worked as an educator in the New York City public schools for almost 20 years prior to moving to Seattle in 2016. Originally from Chicago, Miles has worked internationally as an artist and educator, and his work has been featured in magazines, books, podcasts, and newspapers. Miles is the Creative Economy Manager at Seattle's Office of Economic Development, an assistant professor at Seattle University, and on the advisory board for South by Southwest EDU. His acclaimed TED Talk focuses on his mission to narrow achievement gaps using the arts as a tool to navigate systems of educational inequality. He is the author of Gotta Stay Fresh, and you can learn more about James at freshprofessor.com. Please join me in welcoming Professor James Miles to the podium.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate being here. But just make sure my PowerPoint works. Oh, that's fancy. Fancy. Welcome, everyone. James Miles, the fresh professor, the fancy dresser. We expect the best, nothing lesser. You go to present. Yeah. On the right. I can see it. Yeah, slide in. Don't worry about it. Hopefully my story will be entertaining. So I'll tell you my story. August 1973. I was with a twinkle in my parents' eyes. I was born shortly thereafter. In 1973, a young girl on Sedgwick Avenue in the Bronx named Cindy Campbell threw a block party, right, for us to go back to school. She asked her 18-year-old brother, Clive, to play music for that party. Financial crisis hit New York City pretty hard that time, especially the Bronx, where basic services were cut. To go to major highway, literally upended the residents of the borough at that time. Garbage filled the streets, buildings were demolished, unemployment was high. The 1968 NYC teacher strike left a dearth of educational outcomes, especially for Black and brown youth. Yeah, we go to slide number 3. So here's a young entrepreneur. We go to number 4. Young entrepreneur trying to raise money to buy clothes at the start of the career, start of the school year. They charge boys 50 cents, girls 25 cents, kind of like a ladies' night for little kids. So remember, this is 1973. No streaming music, no CDs, no cassette tapes, maybe an 8-track. Maybe an 8-track. Well, people listen to music on a turntable, right? Raise your hand if you still listen to music on a turntable. Right on. Wow. I personally love the sound of that record scratching right at the end of side A to signal to turn to side B. Like, it's my favorite sound in this world. So that's the story. Clyde Campbell, Cindy's brother, though, being a young creative, brought two turntables to play records on, so they could go back and forth between songs without switching, having to flip the record over. He also did something revolutionary. He had two of the same record for each turntable, so that the break beat, the beat that you danced to, was on a continuous loop. We've been trying this out for like several times, but this party for 300 plus young people took notice. Clive Campbell, better known as Cool DJ Herc, is credited for starting the movement called hip hop music. His style of DJing caught on quickly, and party goers from all over the New York City and all over the country started this new form of movement. This new form of movement was created. So people started dancing to these break beats. They were called break dancers. They would battle each other for recognition on the streets. Groups of dancers were banding together to qualm their beef with dance rather than violence. Those with the gift of gab would melodically recite poetry over beats, call themselves microphone champions, masters of creativity, microphone controllers, masters of ceremonies, MCs. The visual artists of that time wielded the energy from 73,000 years ago, the Blombos caves of South Africa. And instead of drawing on the caves, they drew on the walls. That's called graffiti. All tied together by the sense of self, the sense of pride and honor that came together over centuries, taking the reins of the civil rights movement and the agricultural movement of the 1960s and 70s. Communities were united by this knowledge of self. Now, slide, next slide. Thanks. These 5 elements form the elements of hip hop: knowledge of self, graffiti, DJing, breaking, and of course, MCing. And this is a part of my teaching practice, and I'll tell you why. When I was young, I had a really bad speech impediment and a stutter, resulting in a mostly quiet childhood. I didn't talk very often. My parents were very supportive, but I was really pretty quiet. What I did love was movies and TV, mostly featuring Robin Williams. Robin Williams is my favorite actor. I loved Mork and Mindy. I loved Popeye. I'm trying to mimic Popeye, and with a squint of the eye, talk around my grandfather's pipe. I'd walk around town and just make people laugh. And I loved this one actor who started the movie in Popeye called Bill Irwin. And he started the movie by trying to pick up his hat. They kept kicking it down the street until Ludo knocks him out, right? Of course, Bill Irwin is now known as Mr. Noodle on Sesame Street. I got to re-engage with Mr. Noodle with my own children. So as a kid, I was practicing this. I'd walk around the house cracking jokes with my physical humor, making my mom laugh, my dad laugh, my little brother. It was everything I could do to refrain from speaking. This was my modus operandi until 1985, when Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh released this song called Lottie Dottie. Now, we all know this song, Lottie Dottie. We like to party. We don't bother nobody. Yes! Thank you. To me, nothing sounded so fresh as Lottie Dottie. Dougie Fresh beatboxed or made music with his mouth, and Slick Rick rapped over those lyrics, right? I began to try to beatbox as well, if possible, because Dougie Fresh goes. But I practiced daily. When I walked around my house, my mouth got tired, I would recite the lyrics. My very hip parents were really cool. They're like, all right, well, you're having fun. What I didn't realize is I was exercising my lips, my teeth, and my tongue. My speech impediment became less noticeable. My stutter became less noticeable. This in turn led me to be more comfortable speaking in public. Soon I added dialogue to my Robin Williams impersonations, further entertaining my parents and my little brother. My teachers began to take notice. I was invited to speak at school assemblies, the talent show. Soon I became an actor for 25 years. All thanks to Robin Williams and Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick. Number 7. So, I don't know what I've done without this in my life, right? Even though I didn't become a DJ or a beatboxer, it was that creative outlet, right? If I wasn't exposed to the arts, I would not be here where I am right now. The world of creativity opened up to me, all inspired by Cool DJ Herc and the hip hop genesis over 50 years ago. Now, who could have imagined the impact of hip hop, right? We see it in Doritos commercials, insurance commercials, right? Scoop, there it is. In movies, on stage, happened to be in the original cast of In the Heights, Lin-Manuel Miranda on Broadway. But that's story for another day. U.S. Representative Hakeem Jeffries, quote is the Notorious B.I.G. Marjorie Taylor Greene is known as the Notorious MTG. I don't know. Former President Barack Obama dropped the mic, the correspondence thing, right? Even Joe Biden on his presidential run sat down with Cardi B. It's funny, the white nationalist group called the Boogaloo Boys got their name from breaking Electric Boogaloo. So like even racists love it. So Grandmaster Caz says, hip hop didn't invent anything, it reinvented everything. And that's the power of hip hop. That's the power of arts. That's the power of what we do. We change perspective. We change systems with hearts and minds. We change the world. And I'm lucky to be in the room with all you change makers. So to help elucidate this, I'm going to do some crowd participation. Can we please tell me a favorite song of yours from childhood? A song that brings you a sense of nostalgia. What is the memory linked to that song? Go ahead. I want to hear it. Ain't no joke. Microphone came by. Yes. What about that? Memory? Okay. Love that. Anyone else?
Planet Rock.
Planet Rock. Oh, Unforgettable About It. Right. What inspired you about it? What brings that sense of nostalgia? That's
The Zulu Nation.
Zulu Nation, right? Zulu Nation is the originators of that sense of knowledge itself. So shout out to the Zulu Nation. For me, next slide. It was this song from 48 Hours, right? It was the Thin Lizzy's The Boys Are Back in Town. When I first saw that movie, right, I had no business watching it, I was 6. I watched that movie because Eddie Murphy was in it. And my parents loved watching SNL. Eddie Murphy also continued watching SNL. But when I love that movie, it made me laugh out loud. Adding the gruffness of Nick Nolte's voice, the action scenes, cursing, the nudity, it was the most exciting thing I've ever seen in my life. When Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte walk into the bar and the Bus Boys play a cover version of The Boys Are Back in Town, I was enthralled. There was dancing, laughter, friendship, violence. My young brain couldn't comprehend it. Now, when I first heard it, my best friend, who was white, he's still white. My best friend and I would pretend to be Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy and jump around the house and like the action stars would fight each other and fight crime. What I learned years later is that Phil Lynott, the lead singer of Thin Lizzy, was a black kid from Ireland. And I would have never known that. And I was like, oh, we also make rock music? This is what's up. Now, what if those smells, those tastes, those sounds were no longer accepted? What if everything that connected me to my parents, my friends, my teachers, my school staff was stripped away from the actual classroom and not only deemed wrong, but maybe criminal? What if that culture was denied to me? What if I couldn't bring a piece of culture into school and a piece of school back home to my home culture, to my entire schoolhouse? Research illustrates that when young people are connected to their learning, right, their engagement increases, as does their content understanding. Music activates something called cortical spinal excitability, right? That causes the undeniable urge to move their feet and dance. The rhythm causes changes in the heart of listeners. So when you listen to music together, your heart literally beats at the same beat with everyone else in the room, right? It builds that connectivity through shared experiences. It unites the listener. Think about how we learned our ABCs, or Schoolhouse Rock, or even the antiquated and ahistorical in 1492 Columbus sailed the ocean blue, right? Listen to music, you make music, you keep it in our lives. Now you may be asking yourself, what does this have to do with education? What does this have to do with teaching? What does this have to do with anything? How are we, as parents, as uncles and aunties, neighbors, how do we, as hip hop says, spread love? Can we go next slide, please? I'm so glad you asked. There are 5 pillars of hip hop, as I said, right? DJing, breaking, graffiti, knowledge of self, and MCing. I'm gonna task you to think about these in relationship to young people. The MC, the master of ceremonies. How do you use your voice to engage and invite young people into your world, right? What are you saying to them? How are you saying it? How do you let their voice stand up to support those without a voice? The DJ is the person that mixes 2 songs together with turntables. They make something new. They make a brand new song, a brand new sound. What are you mixing together to create something new? What references, forms of music or artistic expression are you using to support young people in your life? How do you make something fresh, something original? When breaking originated, dancers were breaking, dancing from traditional norms, right? They were doing something unique. What do you want to break from, let go of, try something new? How do you want to tear something down and then rebuild? How are you helping young people break from the negative cycles in their lives? Just like break dancers broken cardboard on the streets. Graffiti is now featured in museums, right? Art exhibits around the world, but it started as street murals on the sides of trains. How are you painting a picture, literally and figuratively, for young people? What are the visuals and styles that reflect the experiences of youth in your lives, right? When I speak of graffiti, I speak of all visual arts. And most important is knowledge of self. Who are the youth in your world? How do you define themselves? How do they identify themselves? And how do they see themselves as they fit into this community, city, state, country, world? How are you helping youth stay centered? Equally important is knowing who you are as an adult. Why do the work that you do? What drives you? What, during this time when there's so much uncertainty, what keeps you centered? When you know the what, the why, the how becomes that much easier, right? What makes you proud? What brings you joy? How do you do the things you do? No matter where you are, you want to feel like your voice belongs, like you matter. You want to be respected by others. This is what hip hop does for young people in the educational sector. Go to the next slide. Audre Lorde, she said, caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it is self-preservation. That's an act of political warfare. Right? In order to support others, we must first support ourselves. We must stop. We must breathe, relax our muscles. It's been tough over the past couple of years. Oftentimes you do that. Take that time to just breathe and chill. Next slide, please. We're so caught up in the everyday that we miss every day. Right? We need to recognize the beauty of the lived experiences of all of us and our environment that we live in. We should be doing everything in our wheelhouse to make sure that the people, especially people that look like us, feel seen, feel heard, feel valued. How do you care for yourself? How do you find that magical breath? There's this Latin word that says expire, sphere. It means breathe, right? So I want to ask you, I want to challenge you to find something you aspire to, meaning without breath, aspire. Think of someone, someplace, some piece of art that literally takes your breath. Inspire. What are you breathing in? Something that makes you think like, ooh, I want to know what that is. That makes you challenge yourself, right? Perspire. What are you breathing through? What's your sweat equity, right? You got to put the work in. It takes a minimum of 6 weeks to change behavior. What are you doing to continue to change behavior to focus on? Conspire. This is my favorite one, most important, is breathe together. You can't do this work alone. Who are you sharing air with? Who are you having conversations with? We want to work with people, not for people, right? I love to share oxygen with people. You know, my niece is in the back, I want to share oxygen with her all the time. We always conspire to do something dope. I started my career as an accountant at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. My father was an investment banker. My mom was a teacher at local school, right? I was very much middle class Black life, right? It rarely seen in the media. But my first day of work, remember clear as day, I learned the ropes pretty quickly, sat down on my desk, did some accounting, listened to the light rock radio station my coworkers played, and just went to work. On the second day of work, I got excited, came to work, and I fell asleep. Mid-shift. I do that every day. Every day I fell asleep at work. I hated it. Like 2 months in, I realized I made a huge mistake in my life. I should not be an accountant. I made $1 million mistake once. My supervisor caught it luckily and helped me change it. And that elucidated like, yo, I shouldn't be in this place. I need to do something else, right? I wanted to be an actor. I trained at Second City in Chicago. I was actually booked my first TV show when I was in high school, but I didn't think that would be a career path, right? So I slogged to work every day, came home exhausted, barely able to contain myself, fell asleep. One evening, my parents called. And my dad gets on the phone and he said, I wanted to be a dancer when I was young. You shouldn't be scared to make your family an artist. Do what you want to do. Now, this was unique for many reasons. My dad never called. My mom called, he yelled in the back, hey, what's up? That's all he ever did. He never talked about his background, right? So when I booked that TV show, he said, oh man, it's great, you have novels. However, something changed. He saw something in me. So he said, yo, I think you should follow your dreams. Don't do shit you don't want to do, man. Be an actor. You've always been an actor. Do it. Quit your job. So I did. I quit my job, got my MFA in acting, moved back to New York City, worked as an actor for 20+ years, got married, had kids, built a career as an artist. Something my father said he was scared to do and was never able to do. I was able to do that. Well, my younger brother graduated from Morehouse. I went to Morehouse, my brother went to Morehouse, it's a tradition. He became a successful TV writer, actor, producer, father to my niece, happily married man. Now, before our dad passed away, not too long ago, he looked at us, his 2 sons, and he said, man, I'm proud of you for working and following your dreams, bringing joy to people's lives. You make the world a better place through art. Next slide. So as Archbishop Desmond Tutu said, because forgiveness is like a room, dank, you can have closed the windows, you can close the curtains, but the sun is shining outside, just like it is today. And the air is fresh outside. In order to get that fresh air, you have to get up, open the windows, and draw the curtains apart. I hope we can all open the window, draw the curtains apart, and let's bring some more art in our lives, right? Let's think of our village. Let's be like cool DJ Hart and start a movement. Thank you. I'm a fresh professor.
Real quick before Elder Denise comes back, we have just a couple of quick little announcements. We have a young lady who has lost her key fob in the back. If anyone sees that, please return that. She'd like to get into her place. Also, we have 2 more vehicles that need to be moved as soon as you can. One is a Mazda CX-90 that is license plate CJB 4710. And also a Honda with a license plate is red, BGT 1966 is the number. So if you can please move those as soon as you can. Or I've been instructed or they will be removed. Please, and Elder Denise, thank you.
Well, I just want to, and to Professor Miles, wow, thank you so much for challenging us and the information you provided and shared with us. Really appreciate you making yourself available to be here with us, and so thank you very much. All right, so if you were here and if you heard our first skit and you thought that was outstanding, wait until you see what we have planned for you now. In the realm of storytelling, simplicity often unearths profound lessons and hidden truths. Enter the world of Theo, a curious little boy whose innocent question sparks a journey of discovery. As Theo ponders the world without Black people, a captivating narrative unfolds. The story unveils the rich tapestry of contributions made by Black individuals, shedding light on the myriad inventions and innovations that have shaped our lives, yet often remain unsung. Please join me in welcoming to the podium Charlene Anderson and Tammy Stevens as they lead us in the story of a little boy named Theo.
Please keep in mind, as we talk of these inventions, creations, improvements, enhancements, etc., our purpose today is not to get mixed up on the strict definitions of these words, but instead to highlight the contributions of these Black people today.
This is a story of a little boy named Theo, who woke up one morning and asked his mother,
Mom, what if there were no Black people in the world? Well, his mother thought about that for a moment and then said, son, follow me around the world, follow me around. Oops. Son, follow me around today and let's just see what it would be like if there were no Black people in the world. Mom said, now let's just get dressed and we will get started. Theo ran to his room, put on his clothes and shoes, and his mother took one look at him and said, Theo, where are your shoes? And those clothes are all wrinkled. Son, I must iron them. However, when he reached for the ironing board, it was no longer there. You see, Sarah Boone, a Black woman, invented the ironing board as we know it today. And Jane A. Metzliger, a Black man, invented the shoe lasting machine. Oh, well, she said, please go and do something with your hair. Theo ran into his room to comb his hair, but the comb was not there. You see, Walter Salmons, a Black man, invented the comb. Theo decided to just brush his hair, but the brush was gone. You see, Lyda Newman, a Black woman, invented the brush.
well, this was a sight. No shoes, wrinkled clothes, hair a mess, even mom's hair a mess without the hair care invention of Madam C.J. Walker, a Black woman. Well, you get the picture. Mom told Theo, let's do our chores around the house and then take a trip to the grocery store. Theo's job was to sweep the floor. He swept and swept and swept. When he reached for the dustpan, it was not there. You see, Lloyd P. Ray, a Black man, invented the dustpan. So he swept his pile of dirt over in the corner and left it there. He then decided to mop the floor, but the mop was gone. You see, Thomas W. Stewart, a Black man, invented the mop. Theo yelled to his mom, Mom, I'm not having any luck. Well, son, she said, let me finish washing these clothes and we will prepare a list for the grocery store. When the wash finished, she went to place the clothes in the dryer, but it was not there. You see, George T. Sampson, a Black man, invented the clothes dryer.
Mom asked Theo to go get a pencil and some paper to prepare their list for the market. So Theo ran for the paper and pencil, but noticed the pencil lead was broken. Well, he was out of luck because John Love, a Black man, invented the pencil sharpener. Mom reached for a pen, but it was not there because William Purvis, a Black man, invented the fountain pen. As a matter of fact, Lee Burridge invented the typewriting machine and W.A. Lavalette, the advanced printing press. Theo and his mother decided to just go to the market.
Well, when Theo opened the door, he noticed the grass was as high as he was tall. You see, John Burr, a Black man, invented the lawnmower. They made their way over to the car and found that it just wouldn't go. You see, Richard Spikes, a Black man, invented the automatic gear shift, and Joseph Gamble invented the supercharged system for internal combustion engines. They also noticed that the few cars that were moving were running into each other and having wrecks because there were no traffic signals. You see, Garrett A. Morgan, a Black man, invented the traffic light. Well, it was getting late, so they walked to the market, got their groceries, and returned home. Just when they were about to put away the milk, eggs, and butter, they noticed the refrigerator was gone. You see, John Standard, a Black man, invented the refrigerator. So they just left the food on the counter. By this time, Theo noticed he was getting mighty cold. Mom went to turn up the heat, and what do you know? Alice Parker, a Black woman, invented the heating degree. Even in the summertime, they would be out of luck because Frederick Jones, a Black man, invented the air conditioner. It was almost time for Theo's father to arrive home. He usually takes the bus, but there was no bus because its precursor was the electric trolley, invented by another Black man, Albert R. Robinson. He usually takes the elevator from the office on the 20th floor, but there was no elevator because Alexander Miles, a Black man, invented the electric elevator door.
He also usually dropped off the office mail at a nearby mailbox, but it was no longer there because Philip Downing, a Black man, invented the letterbox mailbox.
and William Barry invented the postmarking and canceling machine. Theo and his mother sat at the kitchen table with their heads in their hands. When the father arrived, he asked, "Why are you sitting in the dark?" Why? Because Louis Howard Latimer, a Black man, invented the filament within the light bulb.
Theo quickly learned more about what it would be like if there were no Black people in the world, especially if he were ever sick and needed blood. Dr. Charles Drew, a Black scientist, found a way to preserve and store blood, which led to his starting of the world's first blood bank. Well, what if a family member needed to have heart surgery? This would not have been possible without Dr. Daniel Hale Williams, a Black doctor who performed the first open heart surgery.
So, if you ever wonder, like Theo, where would we be without Black people? Well, it's pretty plain to see. We would still be in the dark.
Now, that was very exceptional and gave us some real life reality on where we would be without the contributions of African Americans in this country and in the world. So thank you, Charlene and Tammy. We greatly appreciate you and that thoughtful presentation. Well, we're nearing the end of this great program. And you've all been a fantastic participant and audience, online and in person. However, to close out this Build event, I would like to welcome Sharina and Bill Guire. Sorry, we did all right. And Brian Lindstrom, back to the floor. Thank you.
Well, I've had a wonderful time at today's event, and I hope you have as well. We have some special thanks we would like to give. So I would first like to call up Andre and Rochelle. These are the two of the powerhouse leaders that put on this event and our Juneteenth event. Was Rochelle available? I think she's out in the hallway, but Andre, thank you. Thank you, Colonel. And Rochelle. Extra. Thank you. Thank you, Sharina. So thank you to Andre and Rochelle. Also want to thank the History and Activities team, the whole team put on this event, so thank you. Special thanks to the Northwest African American Museum. Let's give them a hand. I also want to recognize the behind the scenes work of Jenny Sandoval, Shante Floric, and Erica Marie Guzman. Please stand up, Erica Marie, Shante, and Jenny. Thank you. Also want to acknowledge Tyrone Jordan Oliver. Are you still in the room? Executive sponsor, Marcus Glassford. Thank you. YouTube Build Communication Subcommittee, Devon Brehm, who you heard earlier. And Barry Lott, who has been running. Thank you. They were all instrumental in our programs, flyers, getting everything posted on our social platforms, and for today's live streaming. Hello, Facebook world. Thank you. We are recording this event so you can watch it later. And then we have some wonderful sponsors that we are going to thank. Love to thank the Commission on Hispanic Affairs. Please hold your applause to the end. The Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation, Department of Children, Youth and Families, Department of Corrections, Department of Ecology, Department of Financial Institutions, Department of Licensing, Department of Retirement Systems, Department of Revenue, Department of Health, Department of Social and Health Services, Department of Transportation, Employment Security Department, Evergreen State College Tacoma Campus, and the Healthcare Authority.
But wait, there's more. To continue the list of our sponsors, the Liquor and Cannabis Board, the Office of Administrative Hearings, the Office of Insurance Commissioner, the Office of Equity, the Office of Financial Management, the Office of Independent Investigations, Public Disclosure Commission, Puget Sound Partnership, Recreation and Conservation Office, Washington's Lottery, Washington Military Department, Washington State Historical Society, Washington State History Museum of Tacoma, Washington State Technology Services, or better known as WATEC, Washington State Patrol, Western State Hospital Gage Center, and Western State Hospital Print Shop and Publications. Please give them all a round of applause. Well, this get up. It's been an event. Well, this program wouldn't be if it wasn't for today's keynote speakers, the fresh professor, James Miles, guest speaker, Karen Wilkins Mickey, libation ceremony facilitator, Dr. Marcia Tate Arunga, group facilitator, Dr. Shamika Sutton, Martin Luther King reenactment, Charlene Anderson, Devon Brown, Dennis Lowe, Don Paul, and Martin Luther King backdrop designer Francesca Hermison. And last but not least, to our wonderful co-MCs, Denise Randall.
All right, and before we move on, I want to bring Truth and Denise up. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of today's program. Next, you get to hear the sounds again from Maurice Itzen. You can pick up your meal across the hall in the cafe and eat, relax, and fellowship, meet others, take some time. And remember, your wristbands that you received at the registration table will allow you to view the museum at your leisure until 5 p.m. Thank you so much for attending. We are so glad you came. Thank you for our virtual audience as well. Have a great day and a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, let's build that network.
Also, you guys, the 360 photo. I'll take that.